There is a piece missing from your mind, and it was taken on purpose, not misplaced, not forgotten through some accident of evolution, removed, surgically, deliberately, and with such precision that you have spent your entire life compensating for its absence without ever knowing it was gone. You feel it every single day. That low hum of incompleteness, that sense that no matter how much information you consume, no matter how many insights land, no matter how many times you sit in silence trying to still the noise, something refuses to click into place. You have tried meditation. You have tried affirmations. You have tried thinking your way to clarity, breathing your way to calm, journaling your way to understanding. And still, there is a gap, a fraction of perception that will not resolve. What if that gap is not a failure of your practice, but a feature of your design? What if the incompleteness you feel is mathematically precise, built into the very structure of how your senses process reality? And what if, buried under 16 centuries of deliberate suppression, there existed a two-step correction so simple, so immediate, that the only reason it has not already transformed your life is that someone made very sure you would never find it? That is what we are here to recover today. Not a philosophy, not a belief system, a perceptual adjustment, one that was encoded into Egyptian sacred mathematics, preserved in a forbidden gospel, and then buried in the desert in a clay jar, because certain people understood that if this technique spread, the entire architecture of control that depends on your fragmented attention would collapse. Let me take you to the mathematics first, because this is where the mysticism ends and the engineering begins. In ancient Egypt, in the temples of Khemenu, the city the Greeks would later call Hermopolis, there existed a symbol so central to Egyptian thought that it appeared on temple walls, burial chambers, amulets, and papyri for over 3,000 years. You know it. You have seen it reproduced on jewelry and tattooed on skin and printed on the covers of books about ancient mysteries. The Eye of Horus, the Wedjat. But what almost no one discusses, what gets stripped out of every popularized account, is the mathematics hidden inside it. The myth tells us that during the great cosmic struggle between Horus, the principle of ordered awareness, and Set, the principle of entropic chaos, the left eye of Horus was torn from his face and shattered into 6 pieces. Each piece scattered into the darkness, each piece lost. This is usually presented as a dramatic story, a tale of divine conflict and eventual restoration. But the Egyptians were not simply telling stories. They were encoding technical information in the only format that could survive millennia without being edited or corrupted, the format of myth. Each of the 6 fragments of the shattered eye was assigned a specific fraction: 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, 1/32, 1/64. And each fragment was mapped to one of the sensory channels through which a human being processes reality. The largest piece, the half, corresponded to smell, the most primitive and emotionally loaded sense. The quarter mapped to sight, the 8th to thought, the 16th to hearing, the 32nd to taste, the 64th to touch. This was not arbitrary. It was a hierarchy of perception, a precise accounting of how much of reality each sensory channel can capture. Now here is where it becomes extraordinary. Add those fractions together. 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/16 plus 1/32 plus 1/64. The sum is 63/64. Not 64 64ths, not one, not whole. There is a gap. 1/64th of perception is missing. And the Egyptians did not treat this as a rounding error or a quirk of their notation system. They treated it as the central fact of human existence. Your senses, no matter how refined, no matter how trained, no matter how attentive you become within the framework of ordinary perception, will never deliver the complete picture. There will always be a sliver of reality that slips through. And that sliver is not trivial. It is the piece that makes everything else make sense. It is the difference between seeing fragments and seeing the whole. Between reacting to a world that seems to happen to you and recognizing that you are the field in which the world is happening. If this is already shifting something in the way you see your own experience, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what comes next. If this missing fraction is resonating with something you have always felt, here is something I want to share. Have you spent years chasing manifestation, visualizing, affirming, raising your vibration, only to watch the same patterns repeat? Every traditional method assumes the same thing, that you are separate from what you want. That separation was never real. You were chasing a signal you were already broadcasting. Beyond the frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery walks through all 9 frequencies. From the dense transmissions trapping you, through the ascending currents, to the master frequencies where consciousness becomes the field. Every method you tried sent a signal outward. This one tunes the signal you already are. Every day you delay, your nervous system broadcasts the same old signal, and breaking free gets harder. So move on it tonight. The link is in the pinned comment below. Now let us return to how the ancients encoded the restoration of that missing piece. The myth tells us that it was Thoth who restored the eye. Thoth, the principle of divine intelligence, the architect of language and time and sacred mathematics, traveled through the cosmos collecting each shattered piece. He found them. He reassembled them. And then he did something that most retellings gloss over entirely. He supplied the missing 64th from his own essence. He did not find it somewhere in the world. It was not hiding behind a star or buried under a mountain. It did not exist in the domain of the senses at all. It came from the quality of awareness itself, from the consciousness that observes the senses without being any of them. This is not a metaphor dressed in Egyptian clothing. This is a technical statement about the structure of perception. The 5 physical senses, plus the ordinary thinking mind, give you 63 64ths of reality. They give you enough to survive, enough to navigate, enough to build civilizations and write symphonies and send machines to other planets. But they do not give you enough to see what you actually are. For that, you need the 64th, and the 64th is not a sense. It is the awareness in which all senses appear. Thoth did not just fix the eye in the myth. He demonstrated the principle that would later be encoded in a completely different tradition, in a completely different language, in a single line so compressed and so precise that scholars have been arguing about it for decades without realizing they were looking at an instruction manual. But before we get to that line, we need to understand why the eye was shattered in the first place. Because the shattering is not just something that happened to Horus in a story. It is something that is happening to you right now, in this moment, as you listen to these words. Set, in Egyptian cosmology, is not evil in the way that later traditions would define evil. Set is entropy. Set is the force of dispersion, of scattering, of pulling coherent things apart into their components. Set does not destroy. Set fragments. And fragmentation is the most elegant form of control ever devised, because the fragments do not know they are fragments. Each piece of the shattered eye still functions. Your eyes still see. Your ears still hear. Your mind still thinks. Everything works. Nothing appears to be broken. The fragmentation is invisible from inside the fragmented state. You cannot see the gap when the gap is in your seeing. This is what the Gnostic texts found at Nag Hammadi called the sleep of forgetfulness, not unconsciousness, not ignorance in the simple sense. A specific kind of amnesia in which the system continues to operate but has lost access to the integrating principle that would reveal what the system actually is. You are not broken. You are shattered. And the difference matters because broken things stop working and shattered things keep working, just never as a whole. Think about your own experience for a moment. Right now, your eyes are processing light or your ears are processing sound. Your mind is tracking meaning, converting these words into concepts, filing them against what you already know, generating responses, judgments, associations. Your body is registering temperature, pressure, the weight of your limbs, the rhythm of your breath. All of these channels are active. All of them are delivering data. But are they unified? Is there a single field of awareness in which all of this is appearing as one seamless experience? Or is your attention jumping from channel to channel, pulled by whichever stimulus is loudest, whichever thought is most urgent, whichever sensation is most demanding? If you are honest, and this requires a particular kind of courage, you will notice that your experience is not unified. It is a rapid alternation between fragments. You hear a sound, and for a moment you are all hearing. Then a thought arises, and you are all thought. Then a sensation in your body pulls you, and you are all sensation. The switching is so fast, so seamless, that it creates the illusion of continuity, the way a film projector flashing 24 still images per second creates the illusion of movement. But it is not continuous. It is fragmented. And in the gaps between the fragments, in the microseconds where attention is releasing one channel and grasping the next, something extraordinary is present. Something that is none of the channels. Something that is the space in which all the channels appear. That something is the 64th. Now, 1600 years ago, near the base of the Jabal al-Tarif cliff in Upper Egypt, close to the modern town of Nag Hammadi, a monk whose name has been consumed by time walked to a spot he had chosen carefully and buried a sealed clay jar containing 13 leather-bound codices. 52 texts in total. Written in Coptic, translated from earlier Greek originals, representing a stream of early Christian and Gnostic thought that the institutional church had spent 2 centuries trying to eradicate. The year was approximately 367 AD, and the burial was almost certainly a response to a specific event. That year, Bishop Athanasius of Alexandria issued his 39th festal letter, in which he defined for the first time the exact canon of the New Testament and explicitly ordered that all non-canonical texts be destroyed. This was not a theological housekeeping exercise. It was an act of informational warfare. Athanasius understood something that most people discussing these texts do not appreciate. The Gnostic writings were not offering a different story about Jesus. They were offering a different technology, a technology that made the institutional structure unnecessary, a technology of direct perceptual access to what the texts called the living light, the source awareness, the pleroma, the fullness. The monk buried the texts because he knew they contained something that could not be allowed to disappear entirely. And for 16 centuries, they waited in the dry Egyptian earth, while the world above them built cathedrals and fought wars, and developed philosophies and invented machines, all within the framework of the 63 64ths, all within the shattered eye. In 1945, a farmer named Muhammad Ali al-Saman, digging for fertilizer near the cliff, struck the jar with his mattock. He almost did not open it, fearing it might contain a jinn. His mother later used some of the papyrus pages as kindling for her cooking fire. Several texts were lost forever in those flames, but enough survived. And among what survived was the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas is unlike anything else in the biblical tradition. It has no narrative, no birth story, no crucifixion, no resurrection account. It is a collection of 114 sayings, each introduced with the phrase, "Jesus said." No context, no explanation, no interpretation, just the sayings themselves, raw and compressed, like seeds waiting for the right soil. Scholars have debated for decades whether these sayings are authentic, whether they predate the canonical Gospels, whether they represent an independent tradition. Those debates are important for historians. They are irrelevant for what we are doing here. Because the value of Logion 50, the 50th saying, does not depend on who said it. It depends on whether it works. And it works. The disciples ask a question. They want to know the sign of the Father that is within them. Not a sign in the sky, not a sign in Scripture, not a sign performed by someone else. The sign that is already present, already active, already operating within the structure of their own awareness. And the answer they receive is 5 words that have been misread as poetry for 16 centuries. It is a movement and a rest. Not movement then rest. Not movement or rest. Movement and rest. Simultaneously, at the same time, in the same awareness, as one integrated experience. I want to pause here and ask you something. When you first heard that instruction, movement and rest held at the same time, did something in you recognize it? Not intellectually, but deeper than that. As if some part of you already knew this was the piece that had been missing. Tell me in the comments what that recognition felt like, because I think many of you have been circling this truth for longer than you realize. This is the 2-step technique. And calling it 2 steps is almost misleading because the steps are not sequential. They are simultaneous. But to understand how to practice them simultaneously, you need to understand each one separately first, the way a musician learns each hand's part before playing them together. Step 1 is the movement. Close your eyes for a moment if you can, or soften your gaze if you cannot, and simply notice what is happening in your inner world right now. Do not try to change it. Do not try to quiet it. Do not try to improve it. Just notice. There is movement. There is always movement. Thoughts arising and dissolving. Images flickering. Fragments of conversation replaying. Planning. Worrying. Remembering. Evaluating. The mind is a river and it has never once stopped flowing. Even in your deepest meditation, even in your most profound moments of stillness, there was movement. Subtle, perhaps. Quiet, perhaps, but present. Most contemplative traditions treat this movement as the problem. They frame spiritual practice as the effort to stop the river, to dam the flow, to achieve a state of perfect mental silence. And this framing is precisely why most people fail at meditation. They sit down. They try to stop thinking. Thinking continues. They judge themselves for thinking. The judgment is more thinking. They try harder. The trying is more thinking. They give up. The giving up is accompanied by a cascade of thoughts about failure and inadequacy. The entire exercise becomes another loop in the very system it was supposed to interrupt. The instruction encoded in Logion 50 does not ask you to stop the movement. It asks you to let it move, fully, without resistance, without judgment, without the subtle, almost imperceptible effort of trying to manage it. This is not passivity. This is radical permission. You are not surrendering to the noise. You are removing yourself as the opponent of the noise. And the moment you do that, something shifts, not in the content of the thoughts. The thoughts continue, but in your relationship to them. You are no longer inside the river being carried by the current. You are the riverbed. The water moves. You do not. This is the first step. Not silence. Permission. Not the absence of movement, but the full, unresisted presence of it. Step 2 is the rest. And here is where the technique becomes genuinely unusual, because the rest is not something you do after the movement. It is not a state you enter once the thoughts have calmed down. It is something you notice is already here, already present, already the case simultaneous with all the movement. Behind every thought, there is a knowing of the thought. Behind every sensation, there is an awareness of the sensation. Behind every sound, there is a hearing that is itself silent. This background awareness is not something you need to create or cultivate or develop. It is the most fundamental fact of your experience. It is more basic than any thought, any feeling, any perception. It is what makes perception possible in the first place. And it is utterly, completely, immovably still. Not still in the way that a frozen lake is still, where the stillness is just the absence of movement and could be disrupted at any moment. Still in the way that space is still. Space does not move when objects move through it. Space does not vibrate when sound passes through it. Space does not change color when light fills it. It remains exactly what it is, regardless of what appears within it. The rest that Logion 50 points to is this kind of stillness. The stillness of awareness itself. The stillness that is not disturbed by disturbance. The stillness that does not need the noise to stop in order to be recognized. When you let the movement move fully and simultaneously recognize the rest that was never not here, something happens that no amount of description can fully prepare you for. The two collapse into each other. The movement is seen to be happening within the rest. The rest is seen to be the ground of the movement. They are not two things. They never were. They are one thing seen from two angles. The way a wave and the ocean are not two things, but one reality expressing itself in two modes. This is the moment the eye reassembles. This is the 64th fraction. Not a new piece of information added to the existing 63. Not a better thought, or a higher emotion, or a subtler sensation. The awareness that was always already present, recognized as what it is, filling the gap that the senses alone could never fill. The Egyptians called this restored perception the Eye of Horus, wholeness, completion, the seeing that sees itself seeing. The Gnostics called it the living light, the light that arose by itself, not created by anything external. In the Hermetic tradition flowing from Thoth, it was called the Nous, the divine intellect, the mind that knows without thinking. Different names, different centuries, different languages, the same perceptual event. And this is what makes it a technology rather than a philosophy. A philosophy gives you something to think about. A technology gives you something to do. And what this technology asks you to do is extraordinarily specific. It asks you to hold two recognitions at once. The recognition that everything is moving, and the recognition that you, the awareness in which the movement appears, are not. Let me be precise about what this looks like in practice because precision matters here. Vague instructions produce vague results. You are sitting somewhere right now, or lying down, or walking. Whatever your body is doing, let it do it. Whatever sounds are present, let them be present. Whatever thoughts are arising, let them arise. Do not add the additional thought of trying to be aware. You are already aware. If you were not aware, you could not hear these words. The awareness is not something you need to turn on. It is what is already on. It is the light by which everything else is seen. Now, within that awareness, notice the movement, the full symphony of it, the thoughts, the sounds, the sensations, the micro-adjustments of your body, the emotional tone of this moment, whatever it is. Boredom, curiosity, skepticism, hope. Let it all move. Give it complete freedom. You are not the manager of this content. You are the space in which it unfolds. And now, without shifting your attention away from the movement, notice what is not moving. Notice the noticing itself. There is something here that is aware of the thoughts, but is not itself a thought. There is something here that hears the sounds, but is not itself a sound. There is something here that feels the sensations, but is not itself a sensation. It has no shape, no color, no location, no age, no name. It is simply present, simply aware, simply here. Hold both, the movement and the stillness, not alternating between them, not focusing on one and letting the other fade. Both, at once, like listening to a symphony and simultaneously being aware of the silence that the music is made of, like watching waves and simultaneously recognizing the ocean. If you can hold this for even 3 seconds, you have just done something that most spiritual practices spend years circling around without ever arriving at. You have activated what the tradition calls monadic vision. Not because you achieved something new, but because you stopped doing the one thing that was preventing it. You stopped choosing between the movement and the rest. You stopped treating them as opposites that cannot coexist. You let them be what they always were. One reality, undivided. The word monad comes from the Greek monos, meaning unit, oneness, the indivisible. In Pythagorean thought, the monad was not the number one in the way we think of numbers. It was the principle of unity from which all numbers, all multiplicity, all differentiation emerges. It was not a thing among things. It was the ground of thingness itself. When the Hermetic tradition, flowing from the Egyptian wisdom of Thoth through the Greek philosophical world, spoke of the monad, it was pointing to the same reality that the restored Eye of Horus symbolized, the undivided awareness that precedes and contains all division. Monadic vision, then, is not seeing something special. It is seeing from the place that was never divided. It is perception before the shattering. Perception from the whole rather than from the fragments. And the extraordinary thing, the thing that makes this a technology and not just a concept, is that this whole was never actually broken. The eye was never actually shattered. The myth describes the experience of fragmentation, the felt sense of being scattered across 63/64ths of reality, but the 64th was present the entire time. The awareness in which the fragmentation appeared was itself whole, unfragmented, untouched. You did not lose monadic vision. You forgot you had it, and the forgetting was not accidental. This is where the Gnostic analysis becomes uncomfortably relevant to modern life. The Nag Hammadi texts describe a system of control operated by what they called archons, rulers or authorities. These are not beings hiding behind the moon or lurking in another dimension, whatever later interpreters may have made of them. In the psychological and perceptual framework of the original texts, the archons are the patterns of fragmentation themselves. They are the habitual mechanisms by which attention is scattered, identity is divided, and awareness is kept in a state of perpetual motion without ever being allowed to notice the stillness that underlies it. Consider how this operates in your daily experience. You wake up. Before your feet touch the floor, your mind has already begun its inventory. Tasks, worries, obligations. The phone screen lights up and delivers a concentrated dose of other people's emergencies, opinions, and provocations. Your attention, which during sleep was relatively unified, relatively close to the rest, is immediately shattered into dozens of fragments. Each notification is a piece of Set's attack. Each fragment of attention given to a separate concern is another piece of the eye scattered into the darkness, and the system is self-reinforcing. The more fragmented your attention becomes, the more anxious you feel. The more anxious you feel, the more you seek relief. The relief comes in the form of more stimuli, more content, more scrolling, more consuming, each of which fragments attention further. The cycle accelerates. The eye shatters into smaller and smaller pieces. And at no point does the system alert you to what is happening, because the alert itself would require the unified awareness that the system is designed to prevent. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a description of attentional mechanics. It is what happens when a nervous system evolved for a world of immediate physical threats is subjected to an environment of infinite informational stimuli. The result is a chronic state of partial attention, of being everywhere and nowhere, of processing everything and understanding nothing. The Gnostics did not have smartphones, but they had the Roman Empire, which had its own sophisticated mechanisms for capturing and fragmenting attention, bread and circuses being the most famous. The technology of distraction evolves. The underlying principle does not. And the antidote does not evolve either, because the antidote is not a counter-technology. It is not a better app, or a more effective productivity system, or a more rigorous meditation technique. The antidote is the recognition of what was never captured in the first place. The rest. The stillness. The 64th fraction that Thoth supplies not by finding it somewhere in the world, but by revealing it as the nature of awareness itself. Here is what I want to know from you. What is the one pattern of fragmentation you recognize most clearly in your own life right now? The one loop that keeps scattering your attention before you even realize it has happened. Drop it in the comments, because naming the pattern is the first step in seeing through it. Let me take you deeper into the mechanics of this, because understanding why it works is part of what allows it to work consistently rather than as a one-time experience that fades. There is a phenomenon in neuroscience called the default mode network. It is a set of brain regions that become active when you are not focused on any specific external task. When you are daydreaming, when you are ruminating, when you are thinking about yourself, your past, your future, your social relationships. The default mode network is, in a very real sense, the neural correlate of what the Gnostics called the Archontic system. It is the machinery of self-referential thought, the engine that generates the continuous narrative of me and my problems and my plans and my regrets. Research by Marcus Reichel at Washington University, who first identified the default mode network in 2001, showed something remarkable. This network does not simply activate when you stop paying attention to the external world. It actively competes with the networks responsible for present moment awareness. When the default mode network is highly active, your capacity to perceive what is actually happening right now diminishes. When present moment awareness increases, default mode network activity decreases. They are, in neurological terms, antagonistic. They cannot both be fully active at the same time. But here is what makes the Logion 50 technique neurologically interesting. It does not ask you to suppress the default mode network. Suppression, as anyone who has tried to forcibly stop thinking knows, does not work. It activates the very networks it is trying to quiet, because the effort of suppression is itself a form of self-referential processing. The technique asks you to do something different. It asks you to let the default mode network do whatever it is doing, the movement, while simultaneously recognizing the awareness that is prior to all network activity, the rest. This is not the same as mindfulness meditation, though it shares a family resemblance. Mindfulness typically involves directing attention to a specific object, the breath, bodily sensations, sounds, and gently returning attention to that object when it wanders. This is valuable. It builds attentional stability, but it is still operating within the framework of the 63/64ths. It is refining the fragments, making them clearer, sharper, more vivid. It is polishing pieces of the shattered eye. The Monadic technique does not refine the fragments. It recognizes the whole in which the fragments appear. It does not improve your attention. It reveals what attention is made of. And what attention is made of, when you look closely enough, is the same still awareness that the Egyptians symbolized as the restored Wedjat, that the Gnostics pointed to as the living light, that Thoth embodied as the principle of divine intelligence. There is a second layer to the Gospel of Thomas passage that most commentators miss entirely. After describing the sign as a movement and a rest, the text goes on to describe the origin of the living light. It speaks of light that arose of itself, that established itself, and that was revealed in the image of the light. This is not decorative mystical language. It is a phenomenological report. It is describing what actually happens in subjective experience when the movement and the rest are held simultaneously. When you stop fighting the noise and simultaneously recognize the silence, the quality of your visual field changes, not metaphorically, literally. There is a luminosity that becomes apparent, a brightness that does not come from any external light source. Meditators across traditions have reported this for millennia. Tibetan Buddhists call it the clear light. Hindu yogis call it the Jyoti, the inner light. Christian mystics called it the uncreated light, the light of Tabor. The Gospel of Thomas calls it the light that arose of itself. This is not a hallucination. It is not a trick of the visual cortex. It is what perception looks like when it is no longer fragmented. When the 64th fraction is restored, when awareness recognizes itself as the ground of all experience, the experience itself becomes luminous. Not because something has been added, but because the filter of fragmentation has been removed. You are seeing what was always there. You are seeing with the whole eye. And this brings us to what the Hermetic tradition, the lineage flowing from Thoth through the Greek-Egyptian synthesis, called the central point. The monad. The place where all lines converge. The Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the Greek name for Thoth, describes this point as the place where the mind, freed from its bodily garments, puts on its own proper power and becomes self-knowing. This is not a place in space. It is not a location in the brain. It is the dimensionless point of pure awareness from which all dimensions extend. When you practice the simultaneous recognition of movement and rest, you are not going somewhere. You are arriving where you always were. You are recognizing that the point of awareness from which you are experiencing this moment has never moved, has never changed, has never been born, and will never die. It is the still point around which the entire wheel of your experience turns. And from this point, something remarkable becomes available. The Hermetic texts describe it as the collapse of linear time, not in the sense that clocks stop or that the physical world ceases to operate according to its laws, in the sense that the psychological experience of being trapped in a timeline, of being dragged from past to future by the machinery of regret and anticipation, dissolves. From the monadic point, past and future are seen as movements within the present. Memory is a movement. Anticipation is a movement. Both are happening now. Both are appearing in the awareness that is always now. And when this is recognized, not as a concept, but as a direct perceptual fact, the chronic sense of rushing, of never having enough time, of always being behind or ahead of where you should be, simply stops. This is what Thoth's game of Senet was really about. The myth tells us he played a board game with the moon and won 5 extra days. This has been interpreted as an etiological myth, explaining why the Egyptian calendar has 365 days instead of 360. But the deeper reading, the one the priests of Khmenu would have taught to initiates, is about the relationship between consciousness and time. Thoth did not add days to the calendar. He demonstrated that intelligence operating from the monadic point can alter the structure of temporal experience. He hacked time not by manipulating clocks, but by shifting the point from which time is perceived. You have experienced this. Everyone has. Time slows to a crawl in moments of acute danger. Time disappears entirely in moments of deep absorption, what modern psychology calls flow states. Time stretches luxuriously in moments of profound peace. These are not illusions. They are glimpses of what temporal experience looks like when the default mode network's rigid timeline loosens its grip. They are moments when the 64th fraction briefly reasserts itself and the eye, for an instant, sees whole. The technique of movement and rest does not give you these moments as random gifts. It gives you the capacity to recognize the ground from which these moments arise. The ground that is always present, always available, always here. Whether the surface experience is one of crisis, or boredom, or ecstasy, or grief. Let me give you a way to practice this that you can carry into the rest of your day, into tomorrow, into every moment where you remember to use it. You do not need to sit in a special posture. You do not need to close your eyes. You do not need silence or solitude or any particular environment. This technique was designed to work with your eyes open, in the middle of life, in the middle of noise, in the middle of chaos. That is the entire point. If it only worked in ideal conditions, it would be another fragment, another piece of the shattered eye, useful in its narrow domain, but incapable of restoring wholeness. Begin by noticing that you are aware, not aware of something specific, just aware. There is a quality of knowingness that is present right now, prior to any particular object of knowledge. You do not need to look for it. It is what is looking. You do not need to feel for it. It is what is feeling. It is the most obvious thing in your experience, and for that exact reason, it is the most overlooked. Now let everything else be exactly as it is. The sounds, the thoughts, the sensations, the emotions, the visual field, the temperature of the air, the weight of your body, the entire symphony of phenomenal experience. Let it play, let it move, let it be as chaotic or as calm as it happens to be in this moment. You are not conducting this orchestra. You are the concert hall. Hold both recognitions, the movement of everything, the stillness of the awareness in which everything moves. Do not try to balance them. They are already balanced. They have always been balanced. The movement has never once disturbed the stillness. The stillness has never once stopped the movement. They coexist as naturally as waves coexist with the ocean. Your only task is to stop pretending they are separate. If you lose it, and you will lose it, because the habit of fragmentation is strong and the Archontic machinery is well-oiled, do not treat the losing as failure. The losing is itself a movement. The noticing that you lost it is itself the rest. The very awareness that says I was distracted is the awareness that was never distracted. You cannot actually lose this. You can only forget that you have it. And the forgetting, when noticed, is itself the remembering. This is why the technique is described as a sign rather than an achievement. A sign is something that is already present, waiting to be read. You do not create a sign. You recognize it. The sign of the Father within you is not something you build through years of practice. It is something you notice in the instant you stop building. There is one more dimension to this that I want to explore because it transforms the technique from a personal practice into something with implications that are, frankly, difficult to overstate. The Hermetic principle attributed to Thoth, as above so below, as within so without, is usually quoted as a vague statement of cosmic correspondence. But in the context of monadic vision, it becomes operationally precise. When your internal perception shifts from fragmented to whole, your relationship to external reality shifts correspondingly. Not because you are magically manifesting a different world, but because you are no longer filtering the world through 63/64ths of your perceptual capacity. You are seeing more, literally more. Details you missed, patterns you could not recognize, connections that were invisible from within the fragmented state. Think about what happens when you are anxious. Your visual field narrows. Your hearing becomes selective, tuned to threats. Your thinking becomes rigid, locked into worst-case scenarios. This is well-documented neuroscience. The stress response literally reduces your perceptual bandwidth. You see less of reality when you are afraid. Now reverse that. When the movement and the rest are held simultaneously, when the chronic low-grade anxiety of fragmentation dissolves, the perceptual field opens. You see more. You hear more. You think more flexibly. You respond rather than react. You are operating with a wider bandwidth. You are, in the precise language of the Egyptian mathematics, closer to 64/64ths. This is why the ancient traditions insisted that inner transformation produces outer change, not through magical thinking, through perceptual mechanics. A mind that sees whole makes different decisions than a mind that sees in fragments. A person who is not driven by the chronic restlessness of the default mode network does not chase the same compulsive goals, does not fall into the same reactive patterns, does not create the same repetitive crises. The external life changes because the instrument through which life is perceived and responded to has been recalibrated. The Corpus Hermeticum puts this with startling directness. The mind that has known itself enters the blessed company and becomes itself a power. Not power over others, not power in the political or social sense, power in the sense of causal efficacy, the capacity to act from wholeness rather than react from fragmentation, the capacity to create rather than merely cope. And this is what was buried. This is what Athanasius wanted destroyed. Not a different theology, a different technology. A technology that makes the individual sovereign over their own perception. A technology that does not require a priest or a guru or an institution to administer. A technology that works in the middle of ordinary life, with eyes open, in real time, available to anyone who understands the instruction and is willing to test it. The monk who buried those codices in the desert was not preserving a religion. He was preserving a circuit diagram, a wiring schematic for human consciousness. And the two-step instruction, movement and rest, simultaneously, is the switch. Consider sharing this with someone you know who has been fighting the war against their own mind, someone trapped in the cycle of trying to silence the noise. When you pass this along, you are not just sharing information, you are extending the restored eye outward. You are becoming Thoth in that moment, pointing to the 64th fraction in someone else's awareness, and that act of recognition strengthens the recognition in you. The awareness that sees wholeness in another cannot itself be fragmented. Let me leave you with something to carry forward. Not as a belief, but as an experiment. For the next 7 days, practice this. Not in special sessions, not on a cushion, in the middle of your life, while you are washing dishes, while you are stuck in traffic, while you are in a conversation that bores you, while you are lying in bed unable to sleep because your mind will not stop. In each of these moments, do not fight the movement. Let the thoughts think, let the feelings feel, let the noise be noisy, and simultaneously notice the one who notices. The awareness that is aware of the noise but is not noisy. The stillness that is still even when everything moves. You will find, if you practice honestly, that this recognition has a cumulative effect. Not because you are building something, but because you are removing something. You are removing the habit of choosing sides, The habit of trying to be still instead of noisy, calm instead of anxious, spiritual instead of mundane. You are removing the war, and in the absence of the war, the I reassembles, not through effort, through the cessation of the effort that was keeping it apart. The 64th fraction was never missing. It was just overlooked. Thoth did not find it. He pointed to it. The Gospel of Thomas did not create it. It named it. And you do not need to achieve it. You need to stop achieving long enough to notice it is already the ground you are standing on. The monad does not awaken. It was never asleep. What awakens is your recognition of it. And that recognition, once it stabilizes, once it becomes not just a peak experience but the steady background of your life, changes everything. Not because reality changes, because you finally have the eyes to see it whole. This is the technology that was buried. This is the key that was removed. And now it is in your hands, not as information to be stored, as an experiment to be run. Test it. Tonight. Tomorrow morning. In the next difficult conversation. In the next wave of anxiety. In the next moment when your mind tells you that you need to fix something, or find something, or become something before you can be at peace. In that moment, let the movement move and rest. If this landed somewhere real in you, if something in these words bypassed the thinking mind and touched the knowing that was already here, take a moment to acknowledge that. Not for me, for the recognition itself. Subscribe if you want to continue this exploration. Leave a comment if you want to mark this moment, not as a performance for others, but as a signal to yourself that something shifted. Share this with someone who you know is exhausted from fighting their own mind, someone who needs to hear that the war was never necessary, and come back. Because what we opened today is a door, not a destination. The technology of monadic vision is not a single insight. It is a way of seeing that deepens every time it is practiced, that reveals new layers every time the eye opens a fraction wider. There is more to explore, more to recover, more to remember. But for now, this is enough. The movement and the rest, the 63 and the 1, the shattered eye and the awareness that was never shattered. Let them be one. They already are.